If there's one man who can help, if there's one man who can help, it's the man coming in here right now.
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the Fullmetal Alchemist fan guide for the 2003 anime as part of a podcast made Fullmetal on Fullmetal Fridays. You can typically expect these every Friday around 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, though sometimes I might skip a week and double up or maybe triple up, who knows. Today we're going to be talking about episodes 14 and 15, Destruction's Right Hand and the Ishbal Massacre. So in the first episode, we start off with seeing the civil unrest in Lior, because Envy has been taking the shape of Cornello and just starting another insurgency. Meanwhile, we pick up with our conversation between Mustang and Hughes, and we realize that Scar is indeed on the move, and so we're anticipating his arrival. However, Ed and Al find Dr. Marco finally, and they discover that he actually created an imperfect version of the Philosopher's Stone, which shows that it is possible to, in theory, make a stone that may in fact not have any flaws. Marco is very resistant to really talk with them and help them at all because he's so upset about what he did in the Ishbal Rebellion. However, General Grand pops up with some soldiers because it looks like he has been tailing the Elric brothers. He takes all the information from Dr. Marco and arrests him. However, Ed feels really bad about this because he kind of gets this flashback about what happened years ago with Tucker and Nina and kind of realizing, oh, this is another person who, at least directly or indirectly because of the government meddling with things and kind of pushing people a certain direction, is kind of falling into tragedy. He sees kind of a parallel there and thinks, once again, hey, this is somehow his fault, or at the very least he takes responsibility saying, hey, there's something I want to do to change this. But Scar pops up and kills Grand, uses his destructive half alchemical process to basically liquefy his brains, essentially. He then pursues the Elrics and Marco, and then the episode ends with the appearance of Major Armstrong, who kind of diverts Scar's attention away from them as they begin their fight. Episode 15 picks up with that fight, but Scar manages to leave once again because Armstrong's surprised when he's shocked that, Scar is in fact from Ishbal, which ties into the reveal later. Because thematically, we get sort of a flashback where Marco tells the Elrics all about the Ishbal Massacre and how it was kind of an unjust war where the military was sort of oppressing these people anyway and pushing themselves more into their territory, into their region. And there was an accidental shooting, apparently, of an Ishbal child, which started the riot, which started the entire war. We also get some world building about the Ishbals and kind of their religion, which seems to be kind of more of a Judeo-Christian one, which is very different from the very science-based alchemists, and the fact that this country seems to be run basically around alchemy almost as the main doctrine. And Marco's research, actually, even though he was a doctor and primarily wanted to help people, he was integral to developing these imperfect Philosopher's Stones, which really enhance the ability of the alchemists to fight, and we get some really intense imagery of their powers being enhanced and causing a lot of destruction. In fact, where Marco just kind of sees the destruction that he wrought and then just kind of collapses on his knees. We also learn another reason why Mustang is still traumatized, because in addition to the other horrific things that he discovered, which he may have thought may have been unjust under orders, he in fact killed a pair of doctors. And he's so upset by this that he almost killed himself, and it's Marco who stays his hand and says, hey, you were following orders, I'm actually much more to blame for what's happening here. And we found out that he and Mustang kind of had an agreement where he was going to run off, and he took all the research for the Philosopher's Stones and the imperfect stones themselves and any way to create them, and that's another reason why the government's basically been pursuing him, and Mustang kept this a secret because he knew what was wrong, so he kind of wanted to protect Marco. The Elric brothers say they plan to get Dr. Marco into hiding at the Rockwell residence, but Marco says that's a bad idea and he doesn't want to go there because he's traumatized, because he doesn't think he's welcome there. It turns out the doctors who were helping any of the injured people on both sides were actually killed under orders by Mustang. Now, Scar runs into the Elric brothers again. Originally, in the previous episode, he had tried to fight them, but he had attempted to use his destructive alchemy on both Ed and Al, However, it wasn't as effective because it had been calibrated to the armor, and he didn't know about Ed's automail, but when he comes across them again, he's readjusted, because you can quickly do that, I guess, when you've been augmented, and he seriously injures Al's body as well as destroying Ed's arm. Now, Scar's really about to finish the killing blow to Ed because he's saying, hey, please just kill me, not my brother. But Dr. Marco is actually the one who saves the day when it turns out that Scar's markings, his alchemical markings on his arm, are actually really sensitive when exposed to the red stone. Marco throws it and Scar absorbs it, which kind of causes him to be in pain and sort of lose control. He flees, and he's about to encounter the army. But with his augmented abilities, he kind of destroys the ground and then flees underground. Then Dr. Marco is in fact taken into custody by the Fuhrer and his secretary. And the episode ends with Al saying he thinks he's heard his mother's voice, which of course Ed says just is ridiculous. Well, where to begin with this one? Well, as I had said previously in the last episode or two, I had watched a good chunk of these first episodes, again, not that long ago, so I wasn't freshly watching them kind of right before I'm recording this within a shorter period of time. So my memory's a bit fuzzy, and I'm getting more surprised and getting a much fresher experience watching these again in lieu of recording them. And I've got to say, wow, these episodes were just so packed full of drama and hard-hitting moments. I mean, like just some of the plot points that I mentioned with the reveal about Mustang killing Winry's parents and all of Dr. Marco's sayings about the tragedies of what happened with the war, and we learn more about that. And we kind of have suggestions about Scar's brother he mentions, comparisons to him. And Ed, he sees he had similar eyes, and we learn about the fact that Scar really has it in for state alchemists because he views it as kind of a perversion of the natural law based on his religion, but he also has a very personal desire for revenge, and how Edward kind of makes a remark to him that he's just kind of using his faith to kind of justify what he's doing. It's just a lot of stuff really going on that's very interesting. I think that we get a cool reveal for Armstrong here to show his physicality. And he just kind of makes a presence as kind of an honorable, quiet character who definitely has a flair for the dramatic at points and is very flamboyant, but that's kind of restrained here. We get to see some good interplay when Mustang tries to take down Scar at first and is about to fight him in the rain. But Hawkeye actually comes to his rescue, kind of stopping him and tripping him from getting into the fight because his gloves are wet, which would make it difficult for him to create a spark and use his flame alchemy, which he was so in the moment, I guess, focusing on Scarlet he forgot. So it shows that Mustang is capable, certainly, of making mistakes. And also just the opening of the first episode of Destruction's Right Hand, where we kind of see really that the homunculi are really kind of being puppeteers and manipulating events, and they really are part of a grander scheme. And Lust has this interesting line about how humans are so pathetic and they keep making the same mistakes, which is interesting because they say these lines about how despicable they find humans to be, but we'll learn later at least that Lust has a desire to be human, so it's an interesting contradiction there. And even in the way the episode opens with just one of Cornello's followers, I believe it was like the second in command from the first couple episodes, comes up to discover them, and Gluttony just eats him. And we see him kind of like with the bloodstained hands and sort of wiping his hands, licking them clean, and we hear about that, and we just have those sound effects of him doing that off screen. There's a lot to unpack just thematically, a lot of drama just talking about how war is damaging and it's questionable, and a lot of little ideas about, religious ideas and about responsibility, and how Ed and Al are just saying they need each other and they have this desire to almost sacrifice themselves for one another, but they talk about how they kind of have that drive to just kind of make up for their mistakes and try to get their bodies back, and how that keeps them moving forward, even if that's really the main thing they have to hold on to, but it's not. It's also just their love for each other and their bond being so strong. It's one of those great reminders, I think, where I'll be honest, sometimes I kind of worry when I was going through these episodes, like, I don't know, is Fullmetal Alchemist really as good as I remember? And then watching these and kind of seeing that the plot's so dense in these episodes, and there really is just so much packed into these couple episodes. I'm like, okay, we're really getting back to where I remember why this was so hard-hitting, and watching it at a much younger age is kind of one of the big introductions to anime. I see why it kind of is elevated for maybe some other things just in terms of themes and layers. I mean, it's certainly obviously not that subtle. Anime rarely is. It telegraphs its themes quite a bit, but it's still emotionally really resonant. And I will say, probably the part that really got me is just Marco talking about how he feels like he doesn't deserve to live, and he feels like he can't make up for what he's done, and he's tried to help people so long. And Ed makes that comment about how he doesn't want to basically turn him over and be responsible for him kind of being losing everything he's done, because he actually has been helpful for the people in the sense that he's tried to make up for what he's done with all the people that he's healed. It was just interesting that all the pure emotion and then the sadness and the regret, like it actually moved me. I found myself almost tearing up a couple times in these episodes. Just there's some intense stuff. The drama really pulls you in, and I think it's also helped by the fact, I mean, the music's good, really really intense facial expressions when the characters are in pain and when they're sad, but also in the dub, which I've been watching again, just the voice performances are pretty good. They're somewhat restrained when they need to be, but they're really not overdoing it for the most part. There's a lot of really emotionally impactful scenes that they really nail, to be completely honest. Literally in my overall feelings / review part of my outline here for my segments, I just have so much drama. Just so much. My favorite Full Metal moment, actually, my favorite Full Metal moment in Destruction's Right Hand is one of my favorite moments of comedy, which I'll say I do think that for as dark and intense and emotional as FMA can often be, I'm finding I like the humor much more now that I'm older. The Dr. Marco reveal where he points his gun at Al, and of course it's going to be this really intense moment where he's saying, I'll shoot you, I don't want to go back, and then Al kind of tells him, well, hey, you know what, go ahead, I won't get hurt, you're the only one who may. And then he switches to saying, with the bounding music rising up, I see at last. It's like you've come for me, right? You're the Full Metal Alchemist. And then of course, it's like, no, for the 100th time, that's me. And I love that, quite that tonal shift, like we almost know it's coming, but like it's almost like, okay, not taking itself too seriously there for a second. We can have a little levity. I found that enjoyable, but I found myself cheating again. I said also pretty much every scene with Scar. Like I could see why he's such a fan favorite, because he's so intense and these darker characters with an angstier edge, but also his religious convictions and the fact that he's kind of mysterious and he's from this different culture and he seems like he cares a lot about family. He's a very intense character, but he's interesting. And he's also got a great vocal performance as well. I specifically like the line where he's about to kill Ed, and he's saying that, nothing will ever really help him to overcome feelings of losing his loved ones. Nothing's ever really going to help that. And then asks, well, then why are you going around killing all these people? So there's a little bit of hypocrisy there that, well, Scar is trying to find a way to alleviate those issues by going on for revenge. That's kind of his way of trying to fix it, because he doesn't really know how to heal himself in a healthier way, I guess. So yeah, I think we're really getting to the really, really good stuff here. I want to say that there are episodes that are probably even better than this, but I'm giving both of these an 8. These are really good episodes. I think we're really getting into heavier plot stuff, a lot of themes, a lot of drama, some world building with the Ishbal stuff, and a little bit more about the stones and the fact that the government was actually trying to create them and was looking for them as well. All the Scar stuff's really cool. So yes, I think that we're getting to some really good stuff, and I think it's going to be really, really interesting from here on in for the most part. I know there might be an episode or two that we may stumble, but I'll tell you this. I watched this one episode and I said, you know what, I got to watch the next one. And this is the first time in a while I've actually said that. So yeah, I was really compelled. So I think these are definitely really good episodes. Once again, if there's anything I missed or if you have any comments about these episodes, please let me know in the comments below. I'll try to aim to get another episode up next Friday, but if not, there might be a week in there. As always, take care and stay magical.